Welcome to Graya Overload. I'm Anthony, and Intel at CES has announced their 8th generation with Radeon Vega M Graphics. When Intel announced it was going to start using Radeon graphics in their processor package for a certain line of their 8th generation, I was very intrigued. And now we have it finally announced or launched here at CES. And so Intel was saying that they have basically two different packages. One in a 65 watt package, which is going to be their 8th gen Intel Core with Radeon RX M GL graphics. And then the other one, which is going to be a 100 watt configuration, that is going to be an unlocked configuration as well, is going to be the 8th gen with Radeon RX Vega M GH graphics. So a little bit, there's a GL versus a GH, and that's going to break down into two different groups overall. And so the GH is going to have two i7s, the i7-8809G and the i7-8709G, which is going to be 24 compute units, 1536 streaming processors, and up to 3.7 teraflops of single precision performance. Then when you jump over to the GL, this is kind of a little bit less compute units, a little bit lower end compared to the other one. And then that also lower power, right? And that's going to be the i7-8700-06G, i7-8700-05G, and the i5-8305G. And this is going to have 20 compute units, and that's going to be 1280 streaming processors, as well as up to 2.6 teraflops of single precision. And I believe I've seen that, I think Dell announced one that they're going to tune them, like, so you can, and Intel's even said you can tune it down to a different TDP that you want that package to be. I think Dell has one in a 45 watt package that they optimize for. But overall, like, you have these base frequencies, and on the i7s, all i7s are going to be base frequencies of 3.1, and then boost is going to be 4.1, all except for the high end 8809, and that's going to be 4.2. And you do get some overclocking capabilities on the GH series, so you will be able to overclock that if you want as well. Now the i5 version is going to be a 2.8 base with a 3.8 boost maximum processor speed on that. And what's really interesting is the core and threads on all these are going to be 4 cores and 8 threads across the board. So that's going to be really cool. And you can see here some of the other stats as well. And they're not getting rid of the Intel GPU on there. So you're going to, I'll hit that on this a little bit later, is you're going to have some really cool, like, you have some Intel QuickSync still. So you're going to get the benefit of not only having AMD's video architectures as well, but you also have Intel's. So that's a cool little benefit as well. And it looks like the memory graphics frequency on all of these is up to 1100 megahertz as well. So that's pretty powerful overall, as you can see. And just going through, I think that one reason why Intel wanted to do this is to get to a smaller package, thinner Z height. It's all in one. It even has 4 gigs of HBM on it, which is very incredible overall. It's the first mobile part to even have HBM in it, especially at all. So that's a really nice part, and so you get a lot of power efficiency, and that's what Intel wanted. And they also wanted, the innovative designs. They wanted, the hardware features of both the full-on graphics and, enthusiasts. They wanted to start capturing that enthusiast market, and I think that was a big thing as well, as you see here. So you can kind of see through some of the hardware innovations that they did and read through them. I think that the design flexibility that they show here, and this might be more of the worst case scenario on one side that Intel's comparing against, but even still, they're still trimming down a lot of size and putting all that graphics power into that little chips, along with their CPU side, which I think is going to be some very good performance overall. And I can't wait to even test out one of these machines. I hope I get a chance to test out one of these machines as well. But with thinner designs, you gotta also manage power, and this is one thing that Intel's doing here, is that, traditionally you're probably just going through and just putting power evenly through. But with these, Intel had put in a dynamic, so you can adjust based upon what type of workloads you're doing. So if it's a gaming workload, you can really kind of, boost up the graphics, but if you're, multitasking, they can boost up the CPU, which is going to be great. And so that they're saying that they're getting way more performance per watt with being able to tune it in like frames per second on games and stuff, because they have this all tuned. I think that's a great move. I like to see more of it, and see how it actually works in real life as well, because I think that could be a benefit. But now I'm going to jump into some performance here, and these are all the GL graphics right now that I'll go through here. And Intel has all their performance, and as you can see, they're comparing it to like the 960M, and it's a huge benefit overall here. You got like Time Spy, 3D Mark, etc., and they're all, I mean, it's a quite impressive feat to get this far up, and I'm quite impressed with what Intel has done. And then let's jump over to this next slide here, and this is showing some of the games overall. So we get out of all the programs, we jump into these games, and that's kind of interesting as well. You have the 1050 in this scenario that it's going against, so it's actually looks like it's beating the 1050 in here. I'm really curious at how it goes against like the 1060. At that point, I think that's the interesting mark for me, is like, how does it actually compete against the 1060 as well, especially if you can get this one and then the GL line to compete against it. Now it's probably going more against probably the 1050 line, and that's what Intel probably wanted, but overall I do want to see there, because that can be an interesting point of what the actual competition is that Intel's trying to go after here as well. But then once we jump to GH, kind of go through the same program side as well, and you start seeing here that they have a whole bunch of items that they're competing against, again the 960 as well, the 960M, and it is quite more, it's even got an advantage over the previous GL graphics as well. And then we can jump into some of the games, 3D Mark 11 graphics, etc. And what's really interesting here is that you have, it's also competing again against the 1060 here. So it's not the 1050, it's the 1060, and it is beefing up and beating it out in those scenarios. So they're kind of going at 1050, 1060. Looks like that's the goal, but they're even a little bit above there as well. Now, we all have worries about drivers, and if drivers are going to be updated. If we're going to buy something like this, we want the games updated. And as you see here, it looks like that they are going to be committed, or they're going to try to be committed to it. They're showing up saying we're going to be committed. We'll see if that happens in practice, right? Where Intel has never been the best at day zero drivers. And so, but you get Wattman for overclocking, you get Intel's overclocking utility, you get Radeon Chill, you get FreeSync, you get Relive, so you get all their Adrenal Edition stuff. Notice that the Adrenal Edition is colored in blue here, so for Intel, so it looks like Intel's getting AMD drivers, and then they're just doing final touches on it and releasing it as well. So this is going to be kind of interesting. My overall thoughts is that Intel wanted to go after NVIDIA. NVIDIA has a huge market with graphics. If they can get now all that payment for the GPU side and CPU side in the same design all to them, that's a bigger profit margin for them. Yes, they're going to be paying AMD a little bit for the semi-custom part, but they do get probably that higher profit margin. Well, they're cutting into NVIDIA's profit margin, hopefully, is what I'm thinking. What Intel's doing is they're thinking is that, well, then we can have more of that profit ourselves. NVIDIA, it seems like Intel's directly hitting them. If I'm thinking about NVIDIA, they're going to think of different ways to exploit this, and how they have very powerful stuff. They have very low power. They're designed for thinner lights, etc., and they're going to go after that as well. I think that's kind of their line thinking down the road if this does take off, and I think it will with Intel support. And then AMD, I think that they want their name out there more. It's very questionable why would AMD do it with some of their IP that they have and that they cherish as well, their graphics. And I think AMD not only wants their name out there more, they actually want to be a bigger player in the mobile space. right now they're not really there at all. And I think that this move was a conscious one to make sure that they can start getting and start seeing that, you know, if Intel's selling all these devices, now you have Vega on the Radeon Vega M on every single one, as you saw in the beginning with the little tags that you'll probably see on every single computer now that has this, is that now Radeon gets their name out there. And maybe that starts, you know, mindset of people out there, because they start looking at Radeon more, and it's going to be quite interesting. And I think that's what AMD wanted, is to get their mind share of the public to be noticing them as well. So with that, I want to thank you for watching Graya Overload. Thank you for taking the time to watch and support this channel. I really do appreciate it. I thank you for all the growth that you've helped this channel. It's really the viewers that really help this channel grow. And until next time, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching Graya Overload. If you like this content, be sure to subscribe.